She had a dangerous condition in a forbidden place. Only a human medic stepped forward. Inside, the corridors hummed with energy, a mixture of life support systems and the constant movement of technicians. Despite the careful routine of the station, a tension lingered, a quiet unease that was hard to place. It had begun the moment the distress signal arrived. Doctor. Mara Ellison had been reviewing the station's medical logs when the call came in. The message was fragmented, the data stream partially scrambled, yet the urgency was clear. A Virelian diplomat stationed on the forbidden sector of the planet had suffered a critical medical condition, one so delicate and complex that local medics had refused to approach. The warning had been blunt. Entry was restricted, the terrain unstable, and the species, physiology unlike anything humans had ever encountered. Mara felt a familiar surge of determination. This was not the first time humans had been called where others hesitated, but it was the first time she had seen a plea so desperate that no one else dared to act. She read the fragmented data again, noting the genetic markers and the scans of the afflicted Virelian. The problem was simple in words but complicated in reality. A clot had formed in a sensitive area of the Virelian circulatory system, an area that their own healers considered untouchable. Any misstep would result in permanent damage or death. Doctor. Ellison, the voice of her assistant, Jaren, interrupted her thoughts. He had the familiar mix of anxiety and admiration that always appeared when she focused too intently. The Council insists that a human should not intervene. They've offered the Virelians' medical team first refusal. They don't want you to go. Mara looked up, meeting his worried eyes. Jaren, I've seen the scans. The clot is growing. Waiting is no longer an option. If their medics refuse, the patient dies. And humans have the skills they lack. That's why we're here. Jaren hesitated. It's forbidden territory. You know the consequences if the Council discovers unauthorized intervention. They could do nothing just like everyone else, Mara said firmly. Her voice carried the quiet confidence of someone who had faced impossible odds before. She closed the log file and turned toward the hatch that led to the shuttle bay. We don't have time for hesitation. Every hour matters. The shuttle itself was compact, built for speed and precision. Mara's hands moved across the controls with practiced ease, confirming coordinates and checking life support systems. Jaren secured their supplies, advanced human medical tools, a portable scanning unit, and emergency stabilizers designed for both humans and alien species. The Virelian body, fragile and iridescent, demanded instruments that could handle precision beyond standard human procedures. As the shuttle detached from the station, Mara watched the planet below. The forbidden sector was marked on maps as a no-go zone. Dense crystalline forests, jagged canyons that emitted strange magnetic pulses, and an atmosphere unstable even with protective shielding. Any unprepared traveler would be lost in hours, but Mara's experience navigating extreme environments gave her confidence. The shuttle cut through the thin clouds, descending toward the target location. Communication was limited. The Virelians maintained a protective barrier around their settlement, refusing contact with anyone not approved. Mara activated the stealth field, a temporary cloak that would allow them to pass undetected. As they approached, a clearing came into view, a large structure shaped like a spiraling tower, crystalline and gleaming, surrounded by jagged cliffs. It was beautiful in a way that felt dangerous. Coordinates verified, Jaren said. No detected life forms outside the perimeter. We're clear for entry, Mara nodded. Let's hope the patient is still alive. She adjusted her suit, checking the medical tools once more. Her heart carried a quiet weight. She was about to cross a line that others feared, but she could not ignore the call of duty. Upon landing, the environment hit them immediately. The air was dense with charged particles, and the ground beneath the shuttle hummed softly, as though resonating with energy Mara could not identify. Her sensors warned her of instability. The ground could shift without notice, and the crystalline formations had sharp edges that could pierce even reinforced suits. "Keep your eyes open," Mara said. "One wrong step and we could be trapped or injured before we even reach the tower." They moved cautiously, Mara leading the way. Her scanner picked up faint signs of life within the tower. The readings confirmed what she had feared. The Virelian was conscious but weak, and the clot had begun to affect other critical systems. Time was not on their side. At the entrance, they encountered the first obstacle, a shimmering barrier, a force field of unknown origin. It was the first line of defense, something designed to prevent outsiders from entering. Mara studied the controls. They were alien, but she recognized the principle, a resonance-based locking system. Using her portable translator and some careful adjustments, she managed to generate a frequency that phased her shuttle's hull through the barrier without triggering alarms. Jaren followed closely, eyes wide at the display of human ingenuity in action. Inside, the tower was a labyrinth of twisting halls, reflective surfaces, and pulsating lights. The Virelian's presence could be felt even from a distance, a faint shimmer that marked the area of life. Mara moved forward, relying on her instruments and intuition. Every turn held potential danger, traps, unstable floors, or even other protective measures she could not anticipate. But she pressed on, driven by a sense of duty that transcended fear. Finally, they reached the inner chamber. The Virelian lay on a platform that seemed to hover above the ground, surrounded by softly glowing tendrils that monitored vital signs. The patient's skin shimmered with a translucent glow, their limbs trembling. A clot had formed near the central nerve cluster, a delicate and dangerous location that required precision beyond what the Virelian medics could manage. Mara assessed the situation quickly. Standard instruments would fail. Even a minor misalignment could cause irreversible damage. She unpacked her specialized tools, instruments engineered by humans for interspecies surgery. Each one was precise, calibrated to handle tissue density far beyond human norms. "Are you sure you can do this?" Jaren asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The chamber's pulsating light made the patient appear otherworldly, ethereal, and fragile. "I have no choice," Mara said. She connected her scanning unit to the Virelian, mapping the clot and the surrounding tissue. Her eyes scanned the holographic projection, identifying the safest approach. Her hands moved steadily as she prepared for the procedure. The Virelian's eyes fluttered open, luminous and aware. A silent acknowledgement passed between them, a recognition that despite the species' fear of humans, this one had stepped forward when all others had refused. Mara understood the trust being placed in her, a silent pact between healer and patient. "Steady," she whispered, more to herself than to anyone else. She activated the precision instruments, small tools capable of manipulating matter at a microscopic level. The chamber's energy seemed to pulse in response, as if the structure itself recognized the act of intervention. Hours passed, though time felt suspended. Mara worked meticulously, adjusting each micro-incision, carefully dissolving the clot without disturbing the surrounding tissue. Every movement was critical. Any error could be catastrophic. Jaren assisted, monitoring vitals, ready to provide stabilizers or emergency support. Finally, she completed the procedure. The clot was removed, the affected area stabilized. The Virelian's vital signs began to normalize, a soft glow returning to their skin. Mara exhaled, feeling the weight of tension leave her body. She had succeeded where others feared, relying on human ingenuity, courage, and precision. The patient's eyes met hers once more. There was no need for words. Gratitude was evident in the silent shimmer of their being. Mara knew that this act of intervention had changed perceptions. not just of humans' capabilities, but of their willingness to act where others hesitated. As they prepared to leave, Mara considered the journey ahead. Returning to the station would not be simple. There would be questions, scrutiny, and perhaps censure. But she also knew that the human willingness to step forward, to face danger for the sake of another life, had made the difference. It was a small but profound testament to the unique strength humans carried into the universe, courage born of compassion and ingenuity. Stepping back into the shuttle, Mara allowed herself a brief moment of reflection. Beyond the boundaries of fear, beyond the restrictions of protocol, humans could make a difference where others could not. That difference was not in technology alone, nor in physical skill, but in the spirit to act when all else hesitated. As the shuttle lifted from the alien soil, Mara looked down at the crystalline tower, now silent and still. The patient's survival was a victory not just for the individual but for the principle humans carried. That life, no matter how alien, was worth the risk. And for Mara, the lesson was clear. Sometimes, to heal, one must walk where others dare not tread. The stars stretched ahead, endless and uncharted, and Mara felt a quiet determination settle over her. The universe was vast, full of challenges, but wherever danger and uncertainty called, humans could rise, not because it was easy, but because they chose to. The shuttle cut through the upper atmosphere of Vierlia, the twin suns casting a muted glow over the metallic hull. Inside, Mara Ellison sat in silence, her hands folded on her lap, staring at the slowly fading image of the crystalline tower below. Jaren, her assistant, monitored the shuttle's systems, yet even he seemed subdued, as though the gravity of what had just transpired was settling over them. "It's done," Mara said quietly, almost to herself. "The clot is removed. The patient is stable." Jaren looked at her, eyes wide. "I know, but Mara, you've crossed lines the council said we couldn't. You went where no human was allowed. You intervened in a place forbidden to outsiders. They'll notice. The Vierlian authorities will notice." Mara nodded. "I know. But I couldn't wait for permission. Waiting would have meant death. And the patient, they trusted us. That trust cannot be wasted." Outside, the forbidden sector receded, the jagged cliffs and crystalline forests becoming distant. Mara's mind drifted to the patient, the Vierlian who had lain trembling on the hovering platform. She remembered the way their eyes had shimmered, the quiet acknowledgement that, for the first time, a human had stepped forward while all others had turned away. Humans were known for ingenuity, yes, but also for courage, the willingness to act even when rules or fear demanded restraint. That, Mara thought, was the true measure of humanity in the galaxy. The shuttle's comms beeped. It was a secure channel from the station. "Doctor." Ellison, the voice of Commander Raylan, the station's overseer, said, "We've received the transmission. You access the forbidden sector. Explain." Mara exhaled and responded calmly. "Commander, I understand the concern. I did not act lightly." The patient's condition was critical. Vierlian medics refused intervention. Waiting would have meant death. My team and I stabilized the patient and removed the clot. The patient is alive and recovering. There was a pause on the line, heavy and expectant. "Do you understand the political implications?" Raylan's voice was measured but edged with concern. "Your actions will be scrutinized. You may have saved a life, but you also entered a restricted area without authorization. The Council will not overlook this lightly." "I understand," Mara replied firmly, "and I accept the responsibility. But I also know this. A life saved, a species trust maintained, outweighs the fear of reprimand. Humans act because life matters. That is the principle we bring to the galaxy." The commander remained silent for a long moment before replying. "Understood. We will discuss this upon your return. For now, focus on returning safely." Mara disconnected the channel and leaned back in her seat. Her hands itched to touch her instruments, to review the patient's scans, to ensure the procedure had gone perfectly. The human mind, she thought, was restless, never satisfied until certainty replaced doubt. Jaren noticed the tension. "You're thinking about the patient," he said. "Even though we're leaving, even though we're safe," Mara nodded. "Their life is fragile. Viralian biology is delicate. One misstep post-procedure could undo all the work we did. I need to make sure the follow-up is secure." Jaren studied the displays. The station's medics could monitor remotely, maybe intervene if something goes wrong. But will the Viralians allow it? They're wary of humans. "That's why we need to be careful," Mara said. "Trust must be built. One act of courage can open doors where fear and caution have locked them. That patient, they will carry the memory of this intervention, and others will follow. Humans are capable of more than survival. They act when action is needed." As the shuttle cleared the upper atmosphere, Mara activated her long-range scanners. The forbidden sector lay behind them now, but anomalies persisted. Energy readings indicated fluctuations near the tower site. Mara frowned. "There's residual energy there." "It's minor, but the tower, it's not just crystalline. It reacts. Something more than structure, perhaps a defensive mechanism. We need to record this data for the Council." Jaren adjusted the instruments. "Do you think it reacted to your procedure?" Mara shook her head. "Perhaps, or perhaps it's always sensitive to life force changes. Either way, this is a species unlike any we've encountered. Humans may be unique not just in skill, but in perception. We notice patterns others ignore. That may have made the difference." Back on the station, the human team prepared for debriefing. Scientists, diplomats, and security officers waited, their faces a mix of awe, curiosity, and caution. Mara presented her findings, explaining the procedure in detail, emphasizing the careful, precise methods that had ensured the patient's survival. "The Viralians themselves feared intervention," Mara said. "Their biology is unlike ours. Their medical protocols are conservative, designed to avoid risk, but sometimes risk is necessary. Humans excel because we combine knowledge with decisiveness. We act where hesitation would fail." A council representative leaned forward. "Dr. Ellison, your actions are commendable in outcome but reckless in process. The forbidden sector is off-limits for a reason. Were you aware of the potential repercussions?" "Yes," Mara replied, "but inaction was not an option. I weigh consequences, yes, but I also weigh life itself. In the end, life prevailed." The room was silent for a moment. Then a murmur of acknowledgement passed through the observers. Jaren whispered, "They're impressed, even if they can't say it outright." Mara allowed herself a small smile. "Humans are recognized not for recklessness, but for responsibility. We accept risk, yes, but always with purpose. That is why we succeed where others hesitate." Days passed, and the Viralian patient's recovery progressed. Mara monitored remotely, receiving reports that the vital signs remained stable, that the clot had not recurred, and that neural function was returning to normal. The patient had even begun to communicate minimally, using subtle bioluminescent signals that conveyed appreciation and cautious trust. The incident sparked discussion among the Interstellar Council. Some argued that human intervention had been necessary, others insisted rules must be respected. Mara did not intervene in these debates, preferring observation. She knew that actions spoke louder than words, and that humans' willingness to act for the sake of life would ultimately carry weight. Meanwhile, other species began to reconsider their own limitations. Stories of the human medic who dared to step into the forbidden sector spread quietly. Whispers of curiosity, admiration, and cautious hope circulated. Humans were often underestimated, clever, resourceful, and bold, yet many assumed they would follow protocol blindly. Mara's actions shattered that assumption, revealing a species willing to take measured risks when lives were at stake. One evening, Mara reviewed the long-range scans of the tower again. The energy signature persisted, subtle but distinct. Jaren, she said, there's more to this. The tower isn't just defensive, it's reactive. Life itself influences it. We've barely scratched the surface of understanding Virelian environments, and that patient, they're a key to learning more. Jaren nodded. So we may need to go back. Mara's eyes gleamed. Perhaps, but carefully. We've earned trust, but trust is fragile. One wrong move and the door closes. Humans excel not just because we act, but because we learn and adapt. That is our advantage. As the days turned into weeks, Mara prepared a detailed report, documenting every step of the procedure, every reading from the tower, and every observation of the patient. She highlighted the delicate balance of risk and precision, emphasizing human ingenuity and responsibility. The report reached not only the council but also the Virelian authorities. Their response was cautious but intrigued. The patient had survived against odds even they considered impossible, and humans had demonstrated not only skill but empathy, a combination rare in the galaxy. Then, unexpectedly, the patient sent a message. Using their unique bioluminescent signals, translated through Mara's instruments, they expressed a desire for continued observation and cooperation. It was unprecedented. A forbidden sector now open to cautious dialogue because a human had dared to act. Mara reflected on the journey. Humanity's greatest strength, she realized, was not in technology, nor in sheer intellect, nor even in physical endurance. It was in the willingness to confront danger for the sake of life, to act decisively while considering consequences, to extend hands where others hesitated. She shared her thoughts with Jaren as they monitored the patient together. "We have a responsibility," she said softly, "to continue this work, to prove that humans are a species that brings hope, not fear, that our presence can be a force for good, even in the most forbidding places." Jaren smiled. "You're talking about more than medicine now." This is humanity itself," Mara nodded. "Exactly. And the universe notices when humans choose to act where others do not. That is how we define our place, not by power or authority, but by courage, intelligence, and compassion." As the twin suns of Virelia set behind the station, Mara looked at the horizon. The universe stretched endlessly beyond, full of dangers, mysteries, and opportunities. And somewhere out there, a crystalline tower waited, a patient recovering, and a species learning that humans could be both daring and responsible, a rare combination that might just change the course of interstellar relations. Mara knew their journey was only beginning. The forbidden sector had been entered, life had been saved, and trust had been established. But the implications of human courage would ripple far beyond a single patient or a single tower. Every species that witnessed or heard of these events would reconsider what humans were capable of, not just technology, but bravery, ingenuity, and the unwavering commitment to life. And Mara, like all humans who dared to act, would continue to step forward into danger, into uncertainty, into places where others feared to tread. Because that was what humans did. They acted, they learned, and they endured. And the universe, Mara believed, would never forget it. The orbital station was quieter than usual. Mara Ellison walked through the corridors, her mind occupied with the recent events on Virelia. The council's scrutiny had intensified, and the reports she had submitted were being reviewed by every department, from medical oversight to interstellar diplomacy. Humans were admired for their courage, yet viewed with suspicion when that courage pushed boundaries. Jaren followed closely, carrying additional instruments and the portable data logs they had retrieved from the forbidden sector. "It's becoming more complicated," he said. "The council isn't angry exactly, but they're uneasy. They've already received messages from other species. The Virelians are involved now. They're intrigued but cautious. Everyone wants to know what humans did and why." Mara nodded, walking past the familiar observation windows that looked out over the gas giant below. "Let them watch. Let them analyze." Humans will always be measured against results. The patient survived. That alone speaks louder than fear or protocol. The door to the council chamber opened, and Mara stepped inside. Representatives from multiple species were already seated. The crystalline Zorani, whose bodies shimmered like the towers on Vierlia, the reptilian Crow, whose scales reflected the station's lights, and human officials, all observing the proceedings with careful attention. "Doctor Ellison," said Counselor Thay, a Zorani diplomat, "your actions have drawn interest throughout the system. The Vierlian patient is stable, but your method, entering a forbidden sector, is unprecedented. Explain why a human medic would act when all others hesitated." Mara took a breath, steadying herself. "Counselor Thay, the patient's life was in immediate danger. Waiting for permission would have resulted in death. Humans act because life is the measure of responsibility. We weigh consequences, yes, but we also recognize when inaction is a greater risk. Our intervention was not reckless. It was calculated, precise, and necessary." A murmur ran through the chamber. The Crow representative, eyes narrowed, spoke next. "Calculated or not, this sets a precedent. Other humans may interpret this as permission to ignore restrictions. How do you ensure control over your species in situations like this?" Mara's gaze met theirs steadily. "Control is not the issue. Responsibility is. Humans are capable of understanding limits, and our actions demonstrate discernment. We acted because no one else could, because hesitation would have been fatal. The lesson here is not lawlessness. It is courage guided by knowledge." Counselor Thay nodded slowly, acknowledging her reasoning. "Then you accept the political ramifications of your actions." "Yes," Mara said, "I accept them fully. But let history note this. When faced with life or death, humans will act decisively. That is our nature. It is not defiance. It is duty." The chamber remained silent for a moment, absorbing the weight of her words. Then a Vierlian delegate entered, their translucent form glowing softly. They carried a small device, which projected a visual representation of their bioluminescent communication, a complex series of pulses and patterns that Mara had learned to interpret. The Vierlian patient, now able to communicate in limited fashion, extended a simple message of gratitude. The translation appeared on the council's monitors. "You saved me. You acted when others could not. I will not forget this. The gates of knowledge are now open to you." A wave of astonishment passed through the chamber. Even the most cautious representatives could not hide their surprise. Humans had earned not only trust but an invitation to collaboration. Mara felt a quiet satisfaction. Courage had opened doors. Action had built bridges. Yet with opportunity came challenge. The council's attention meant scrutiny, oversight, and the delicate dance of diplomacy. Mara and Jaren returned to the station's medical wing, where the full debriefing awaited. Scientists, xenobiologists, and human strategists were eager for detailed reports. The clot structure, the procedure, and the energy signature of the tower itself. Mara walked them through every step. "The clot was near the central neural nexus," she explained. "Vierlian tissue in this area is extremely sensitive. Standard instruments could not have succeeded. Human-designed micro-tools were required. Precision was critical. Any error would have caused permanent damage." She displayed the scans and holographic reconstructions, showing the committee how each incision was made and how the clot was carefully removed. Our approach combined human medical innovation with real-time adaptability. We monitored the patient's vitals continuously, adjusting technique as needed. The outcome is stability and recovery. A xenobiologist from the council, a sleek, octopus-like species called the Thaurix, raised a tentacle. "Your methods are remarkable. The outcome surpasses anything our species could have attempted. Yet the energy fluctuations in the tower remain unexplained. How did your presence interact with it?" Mara paused, considering her words. "The tower appears reactive to life itself." My presence, as well as the procedure, may have triggered the fluctuations. Whether this is defensive or adaptive is unclear. What is clear is that human intervention did not harm the structure. Our action was compatible with its operation. That alone suggests humans can interact with alien environments in ways others cannot. The room buzzed with questions, but Mara remained patient, answering each with clarity. She emphasized that humans' greatest asset was not merely their tools or technology, but their ability to assess risk, adapt, and act decisively in conditions where hesitation would have been fatal. Later, Mara and Jaren reviewed the long-term data. The patient's vital signs had stabilized completely, and their neural functions were improving. More importantly, the Virelian's communication indicated growing trust. The patient had begun transmitting environmental readings from the tower, revealing the subtle energy patterns and the defensive mechanisms that humans had barely noticed. This data is unprecedented, Jaren said, scrolling through the readings. No species has managed to access a forbidden sector and leave without incident. The Virelians are giving you direct insight because of your intervention. Mara nodded. Trust is earned through action. Humans understand that. Our willingness to face danger for life's sake has value beyond the immediate result. It opens dialogue, it builds alliances, and it earns respect. That is something other species often underestimate. Word spread beyond the council. Messages arrived from research outposts, diplomatic envoys, and even distant human colonies. The story of the human medic who dared to enter a forbidden sector and save a life traveled faster than any official report could. Mara received communications praising her bravery, questioning protocol, and proposing collaboration. The galaxy had taken notice. Yet, not all responses were positive. Some factions argued that humans were reckless, that their interventions could destabilize fragile political balances. Mara expected this. Courage often invites both admiration and envy, respect and fear. She had acted knowing the consequences, and she accepted them. The risk had been calculated. The outcome had justified it. One evening, as Mara reviewed the latest Virelian data, an alert flashed across her console. A nearby planetary system had detected unusual energy readings, patterns similar to those from the Forbidden Sector. Mara leaned forward, intrigued. Could this be related? She asked. Jaren frowned. It's possible. The Virelian patient's data shows the tower interacts with life force energy. If other species or environments have similar mechanisms, humans may be the only ones capable of navigating them safely. Mara's eyes glimmered with determination. Then it is our responsibility to explore, understand, and act. Knowledge is meaningless if we fear it. Humans exist to confront the unknown, to stabilize what others cannot. That is our role in the galaxy. Weeks passed, and preparations began for a more detailed expedition to the Forbidden Sector. The Council approved a team composed of humans and selected Virelian observers. Mara led the mission, confident in the precision of her team and the reliability of human ingenuity. On the day of departure, the patient, now able to move and communicate minimally, transmitted a final message of encouragement. We trust you. You saved us. Walk carefully, learn well, and the doors will remain open. Mara felt a quiet pride. The human ability to act decisively, to combine courage with skill, had earned trust that no diplomacy alone could achieve. She knew that each step forward carried risks, but each risk was a chance to demonstrate humanity's unique strengths: intelligence, adaptability, and moral courage. As the shuttle lifted off once more, the Forbidden Sector stretched below, mysterious and dangerous. Mara felt the familiar thrill of discovery mingled with responsibility. The galaxy was vast, filled with unknown forces and fragile alliances, but humans had proven that they could navigate both, through action, through foresight, and through courage. Above all, Mara understood that this was just the beginning. The Virelian patient had survived because a human had acted when others hesitated. The galaxy had witnessed it. And the principles that guided that action, bravery, precision, and moral responsibility, would continue to define humanity's role among the stars. Jaren glanced at her, noticing the resolve in her eyes. "This will change how the galaxy sees humans," he said softly. Mara smiled, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "It already has, and we will continue to show them what humans are capable of, not through dominance but through action, ingenuity, and the willingness to risk everything to protect life." The shuttle moved through the upper layers of Virelia's atmosphere, and beyond, stars stretched endlessly. Mara knew the challenges ahead would grow, that dangers lurked in uncharted systems, and that political tension could rise at any moment. But she also knew this. Humans were defined not by fear but by the courage to act, the intelligence to plan, and the heart to protect. And somewhere below, in the crystalline towers of the forbidden sector, the patient recovered. Life endured, trust grew. And humanity's presence in the galaxy became more than survival. It became a symbol of hope, courage, and the rare ability to make a difference where others could not. The station's observation deck was quiet, illuminated by the pale light of distant stars. Mara Ellison stood near the viewport, watching the forbidden sector of Virelia stretch below them. The crystalline towers sparkled faintly, holding secrets that humans had only begun to uncover. Months had passed since her initial intervention, and the galaxy had not forgotten what had occurred. Reports arrived from all corners of the Interstellar Council. Humans were being discussed, not with fear alone, but with a mixture of respect, curiosity, and cautious optimism. Mara understood the significance. One life saved, one calculated act of courage, had ripple effects far beyond her immediate perception. The Virelian patient's survival had become a symbol of what humans could do: act decisively where others hesitated, combine intelligence with moral courage, and earn trust through action rather than titles or authority. Jaren entered the deck, carrying a fresh stack of data logs. "They've finalized the Council's review," he said. "They're recommending expanded human involvement in exploratory missions. They want us to assist with research in sectors previously considered too dangerous for any species." Mara smiled faintly. "They're recognizing what we've always known. Humans are unique, not because of our technology, but because of our willingness to act when action is necessary." The council chamber buzzed later that day as representatives gathered. Mara presented her findings from months of monitoring the Virelian patient and the tower. She highlighted every detail: the clot, the micro-tools, the delicate procedure, and the energy responses of the tower. Every aspect demonstrated human precision, ingenuity, and foresight. Counselor Thay, the Zorani diplomat, addressed the chamber. "Dr. Ellison has not only saved a life, but also provided unprecedented insight into Virelian biology and their environment. The implications for interstellar medicine and exploration are profound." The Crow representative, previously skeptical, spoke next. "Humans have acted where protocol and fear restrained others. We have observed their methods, and we see skill coupled with responsibility. This sets a new standard for interspecies cooperation." Mara listened without comment. Recognition was gratifying, but it was not her goal. Her mission had always been life itself, not accolades. Still, she could not ignore the subtle shift. The galaxy was beginning to see humans not as unpredictable outsiders, but as capable partners who combined courage with precision. After the council meeting, Mara returned to the station's medical wing. The Virelian patient's condition had improved dramatically. The translucent being moved with confidence, their bioluminescent patterns flowing with subtle rhythm, a sign of continued recovery and increasing comfort in human presence. The patient transmitted a new message. Mara interpreted it carefully. We invite further collaboration. We wish to understand your methods and share ours. Trust has been earned. Let it grow. Mara shared the message with Jaren. This is remarkable, she said. Trust earned through courage is stronger than any formal agreement. Humans have proven that action, guided by knowledge, can open doors no protocol ever could. Weeks later, preparations for the next expedition began. This time, the team was larger, including human scientists, medics, and carefully selected Viralian observers. Their goal was not only to monitor the patient, but to explore the subtle energy mechanisms within the tower and understand how life itself interacted with the crystalline environment. The shuttle lifted off smoothly, moving toward the forbidden sector with precision. Mara's mind was focused, every detail accounted for, every potential risk anticipated. Yet she felt no fear, only responsibility. Humans had always thrived where others faltered, not because of luck, but because of the willingness to plan, adapt, and act when necessary. As the shuttle approached the tower, Mara observed the energy patterns. They pulsed faintly in response to their presence, subtle but unmistakable. The tower is aware, she said quietly. Not conscious, perhaps, but reactive. It senses life and it adjusts. Our approach must be careful. Jaren monitored the instruments, noting fluctuations. It's almost as if it recognizes us, or at least the patient's presence. Mara nodded. The patient's trust extends to us. That's why we are allowed this opportunity. Humans must always respect the environments we enter. Courage without understanding is recklessness. Intelligence without action is wasted. We must combine both. Inside the tower, the team set up their instruments. Mara guided the Viralian observers, explaining each step. This is delicate work. We are mapping energy flows, monitoring biological responses, and observing environmental reactions. Every movement must be precise. Hours turned into days. The team collected unprecedented data, revealing patterns that no species had observed before. Mara's human-designed instruments detected microfluctuations in the tower's energy fields that responded directly to neural and physiological changes in the Viralian patient. These observations suggested a level of biological-environmental interaction beyond any known model. This is groundbreaking, Jaren said, reviewing the data. No one else could have done this. The Viralian patient trusts us. The tower responds to life itself. Our methods, human precision, adaptability, and foresight made this possible. Mara smiled faintly. This is what humans bring to the galaxy. The ability to act responsibly where others hesitate, to understand deeply and move decisively. Our advantage is not strength alone. It is courage guided by intelligence, compassion paired with skill. The Council received preliminary reports from the expedition. Diplomats and scientists marveled at the insights. Humans were no longer merely participants. They were leaders in exploration, recognized not for arrogance, but for the ability to succeed where caution paralyzed others. Even so, Mara remained grounded. The Viralian patient's health was her top priority. Daily checks confirmed recovery was complete, with no complications from the original clot or the procedure. Neural and circulatory systems functioned optimally, and the patient now moved with confidence throughout the tower. One evening, as the expedition team rested, Mara stood near the observation window, looking down at the crystalline formations. Jaren approached quietly. "Do you think the galaxy truly understands humans now?" Mara considered this. "Perhaps not completely. But they are beginning to. Humans are defined by action, intelligence, and moral courage. We step forward when others hesitate. We adapt, we innovate, and we endure. That is our mark on the universe. Trust and respect follow naturally when humans act responsibly." The Viralian patient approached Mara, their body glowing softly. They transmitted a final message, interpreted carefully. "You have shown what humans are capable of. Courage guided by knowledge brings life where others feared to tread. Continue and the universe will learn to trust. Mara felt a quiet pride. The journey had been perilous, filled with uncertainty, yet the outcome was more than survival. It was connection, understanding, and mutual respect. Humans had proven that even in forbidden places, they could act with precision, courage, and integrity. As the shuttle returned to the station with collected data and renewed trust from the Violians, Mara reflected on the broader implications. This expedition was not merely about a single life saved. It was about what humanity represented in the galaxy. Humans were not perfect, nor invincible, but they possessed a rare combination: the willingness to act decisively, the intelligence to plan carefully, and the moral courage to protect life wherever it existed. In the months that followed, the Council expanded human participation in exploratory missions. Humans were invited to collaborate in environments previously considered too dangerous or unstable. Mara led teams into sectors filled with unknown species, volatile phenomena, and alien ecosystems. Each mission confirmed the same principle: humans were unique in the galaxy, not because of technology alone, but because of their character, their ingenuity, courage, and compassion. One day, as Mara reviewed a new set of planetary scans, a message arrived from the Violian patient. It was simple but powerful: "We trust you. Humanity has proven its value. You are welcome wherever life needs protection." Mara shared the message with Jaren. "This is what it's all about," she said softly. "Trust, understanding, and action. Humans earn their place in the galaxy not by force, but by what they are willing to do for life itself." Jaren smiled. "It's remarkable how one life can change everything." Mara nodded. "It's not just one life, it's a principle. Humans step forward when others hesitate. That is how we shape the universe, through courage, precision, and care. Every life saved, every challenge faced, every unknown explored, it all builds our mark on the stars." The station's observation deck was quiet again, the twin suns of Violia setting on the horizon. Mara looked out at the forbidden sector, now mapped, understood, and respected. The patient's recovery was complete. The crystalline towers held secrets humans had only begun to uncover. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's courage, and trust had been earned where fear once ruled. Mara knew that the journey would continue. The universe was vast, full of dangers and wonders, and human presence would be tested time and again. Yet the principle remained constant: act with courage, guided by knowledge, protect life with precision and compassion, earn trust where none exists. And in that principle, Mara saw the future, not only for herself or her team, but for humanity as a whole. The galaxy had learned what humans could do, and they would not forget it. Humans had proven themselves, not as conquerors, but as guardians, innovators, and allies. As the shuttle prepared to return to the main station, Mara allowed herself a rare moment of reflection. She had crossed forbidden borders, faced danger where others would not, and saved a life that once seemed impossible to protect. She had earned trust, open dialogue, and set a precedent for interstellar cooperation. Above all, she understood what it meant to be human: to act when necessary, to face fear with intelligence and compassion, and to leave a mark on the galaxy through courage and ingenuity. That was the legacy she would continue to build, one mission at a time, one life at a time, among the stars. And somewhere below, the crystalline towers of Violia stood silent yet alive, a testament to survival, trust, and the indomitable spirit of. She had a dangerous condition in a forbidden place. Only a human medic stepped